All right, so let's make a formal introduction for our listener. Good afternoon, Marco. My name is Claudio, and I'm calling you from Washington, D.C.
Yes.
From the studio in Fairfax City. We're very humble, grateful that Marco Werba accepted our invitation to the show. Marco, welcome to the show.
Hi.
Marco, these last 2 years have been very difficult for everybody with the COVID and the pandemic. If you're a touring musician or a film composer like you couldn't tour, you couldn't move that much. How the COVID affected you, your sanity? How you holding up?
No, fortunately, I was not affected at all by COVID, but I had maybe a worst a health problem. I had a colon cancer, unfortunately.
Wow.
And so I fought 2 years with this colon cancer. I had 2 operations, clinic operations, and I had unfortunately I had chemo, radiotherapy, and etc. Now I'm feeling well, but of course every 3 months I need to check myself to make a TAC and see how is the situation, because it's something that tends to come back, to go back. It's difficult to say it's finished, it's over. You're safe from this terrible malady. It can come back, that's the dramatic side of this malady until they will find a medical solution that will it will finish close the story. You're never safe. You're never safe, You need to check every 3 months.
Well, I hope it goes away, man. You're a great composer, so
thank you.
we need many years of Marco music, so.
And there is something funny that I always tell to my friends. Many years ago, I went to meet a friend of my mother who was a fortune teller, the man who reads the future.
Yeah.
Fortune teller, no?
Yeah, fortune.
He was a person very serious who started when he was a child, was studying astrology. And so he had an experience, and he was the astrologist, the fortune teller of Federico Fellini.
Wow.
So Federico Fellini didn't send the film to any festivals if this person would not give him the okay, the advice to send it or not. So he trusted totally this person, and I understand why. Because when I went to meet him, I was maybe 15, 16 years old. He said many things that happened. He said I would have 2 children, a boy and a girl, and this happened. That I was very close to my little boy, and that's true. And then I would work with a well-known Italian director of thrillers, and that happened. I worked with Dario Argento. Wow. And he said, between the many things he said, that one day I would have an Academy Award nomination. So I'm telling to all my friends, logging, that I cannot die before I had the Academy Award nomination. The day after, I can die.
Yeah. Oh, I hope it works out. Hollywood is a very difficult business, right?
It is difficult, but Giallo. We will talk about Giallo later on. Was a film by Dario Argento, but it was an American movie produced by an American producer, an American film company called Hannibal Pictures, that they have the office in Los Angeles. So I succeeded to work with for an American movie, actually, and also for a few more independent, low budget, unfortunately, American feature film. So there is a small, opening, a small possibility for me to work in the film industry in America, but of course not for the Hollywood films, not yet. I hope for in the next future. And since I have an American passport, because my father was American, he was an American journalist of the Variety magazine, who died many years ago. And so I have an American passport. And when I met Bill Conti in Rome, he was recording the music of a movie that was many years ago when there was not yet the euro, and American composers were coming very often to record in Rome because it was less expensive for them.
Really?
The dollar was higher than lira. Now that the euro is higher than dollar, they cannot come anymore to record in Rome. But at that time, many composers, Bill Conti, Jerry Goldsmith, who I met here in Rome, and Georges Delerue. And Bill Conti told me, Marco, what are you doing in Rome? The film industry is in America, in Los Angeles. You need to move there and to start your activity there. I said, yeah, I know, Bill, but I need to have a situation where I have a possibility to write a musical film. I cannot move and right.
What happened, right?
I already have a fiancée, a girlfriend here in Rome. I cannot move easily, I need to have a situation. And so I didn't move. And you know Pino Donaggio, you know him well. But Pino Donaggio had the chance to work for Brian De Palma for many films.
Yeah.
And they told me, come on, move to Los Angeles. You can start, continue your activities. Since you're already working for American films. He said, listen, I love Venice. I prefer to stay here in Venice and to live here. And he's still living in Venice, and he missed many opportunities to work in a few American films because at that time he was working for for an Italian movie. And when they called him, he said, sorry, I'm busy working for an Italian movie. I cannot work for you. And so he missed many other opportunities he could have to work for an American film.
Correct. Yeah. Yeah. By the way, you mentioned Brian De Palma.
Yeah.
He's an unbelievable director. Of course, I would love to interview. Brian is like he's still alive. I think he's 80.
Yes.
Yeah,
He's
but
alive. He made a film with the music still by Pino Donaggio.
Yeah.
There was a strange collaboration between them because they worked for 10 years together almost always, except The Fury, that John Williams wrote the beautiful music for The Fury, and Scarface that Giorgio Moroder wrote the music.
Yeah.
But except that, because the producers wanted to have those two composers,
Correct.
they had a long collaboration. Then at certain point after Body Double, the collaboration was interrupted because maybe the Body Double was not successful. And so Brian De Palma changed the composer, also because maybe the producer wanted to change. And they met again after many years.
That's right.
And
Yeah.
they started again a collaboration for the last two films of De Palma.
That's right.
And probably for the next ones also.
Yeah. Who has the power at the end? Is the producer who will say, no, I like that director and I like that composer, and they both need to agree the term. Is at the end, or the director can suggest?
It depends on the director. If he has a strong personality, he's well known, then he can pretend to work with that composer. Otherwise, still the producer, for example, in Italy, for the television, for the TV series, the director has no power at all. So the producer, the broadcast channel, the RAI, for example, Mediaset, or they decide who is the composer, who are the actors, and the director has not so much possibility to say no to that actor or that, because they want to work with those actors who always work with them, and the director has not so many chances to say no. In America, it happens. For example, when I worked for Giallo, the producer Richard Riondo del Castro suggested my name to Dario Argento. Dario Argento already knew me because we met on the set of Zoo by Cristina Comencini, because his daughter Asia was very young at that time, 14 years old. Working the film, I saw Dario was coming to take back her daughter, and so he already met me many times, but he never listened to my music. He didn't have the opportunity to. So he said to the producer, okay, let's make a demo. I made a demo. The producer liked the music demo. I met Dario Argento. We saw the film, and I started to write a few music demo. He liked the music demo, and the collaboration started. But that was the producer who suggested my name
Oh, got it.
at the beginning. It was not Dario Argento who selected me at the beginning, you know?
Yeah, yeah, I see. I see. Let's go back to the beginning. I mean, you
Okay.
like, were you born like in a musical family? And at what what
No,
age would you realize, well, I like kind of music, I should begin? Your parents expose you to take, piano lesson or guitar lesson? What was the beginning?
no, that's funny because when I was 15, 16, 17 years old, I wanted to become a film director. So
Oh,
my first passion, my first love was cinema, not music.
oh, I see. Yeah.
And actually, the fortune teller who saw my future was a good friend of my mother, and he told to my mother, listen, this boy needs to study music because music is his future. And at the time, I was not interested at all in music. So my mother asked me if I wanted to study the recorder, the Baroque flute at the school. And they say, okay, but I was not really interested. Not really interested. And so she thought that fortune teller, his name was Yared, he died many years ago, was wrong. He didn't see correctly my future.
Yeah.
And what happened with my father, who was a journalist, he was always closing his room writing articles. I didn't have so much time to go to see films, but I succeeded to see 3 films with him and my mother, I think. Those films were Logan's Run by Michael Anderson, Star Wars, and of course, by George Lucas,
Yeah.
and Zorro by Duccio Tessari, an Italian movie. So the film Logan's Run by Michael Anderson with Michael York and Jennifer Agutter was made in 1976. Was a science. I don't know if you know the film, sci-fi movie.
No, I
Very
don't.
interesting. Very interesting. There are many fans. Of course, it didn't have the success of Star Wars or Star Trek, but it was more interesting because it was an intelligent sci-fi movie. Was talking about the survivors of a nuclear explosion
Oh, I
in the
see.
city of Washington, who lives into a city who is separate from outside the world. There is something that separates the city, so they never saw the sun, the nature, the animals, they only live inside this big city. The computer organizes everything. It's a long story. I mean, it's a very interesting movie. And when I saw the first time the film, I didn't notice the music by Jerry Goldsmith. Like almost all the people who go to see a film, they didn't pay attention to the music, but they received the emotion that the music is able to give. That's
Absolutely.
a
Absolutely.
psychological phenomenon. And I wrote a book about music for film in which I talk about this. And also, I had a discussion with a Spanish film critic, music film critic, who was saying that no, people who is going to see a film also notice the music. I said, listen, that's not true. Believe me, I have the experience. Myself, I was not able to to pay attention to the music of the film because I was totally absorbed by the images. And so the sound was a secondary element. When I saw this film for the second time, then when you already know the film, the plot, you pay attention to other elements. And suddenly, like a revelation, I realized that there was a wonderful music by Jerry Goldsmith,
Yeah.
who, in my opinion, was revolutionary music because very intelligent film music, because inside the city, there was only electronic music.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Modern electronic music, except a few moments of humanity when Logan, the protagonist, the main character of the movie, who is a policeman of the future, who meets Jessica and they will fall in love after for the first time, then he introduces the strings because there is a moment of humanity inside a cold city where there is no place for sentiments. for humanity. And outside the city, when the two main protagonists succeed to escape from the city, to go outside, and they are the only two who really succeeded to go outside the city, then the music changes completely and it becomes a symphonic orchestral score.
Yeah, wow, yeah.
So I thought that was revolutionary. And then I went to New York to a music shop and I bought the LP of the film score. And I started to buy a lot of LPs. And that was very useful because I started to understand and to learn the music style of each composer, of the great composers. John Williams, Jerry Goldsmith, Bernard Herrmann, Nino Rota, Ennio Morricone, Nicola Piovani, John Barry, etc. And now I know by listening to all those scores they wrote, which ones are the composer that have a very personal style, and there are not so many, and which ones are the composer who doesn't have a style. For example, the first composer, as you know, who worked with the orchestra in films was Max Steiner.
That's right.
Who was an interesting composer, but didn't have really personal style. The first composer who had a very personal style was Miklos Rozsa, but you can recognize his melodic style. And in my opinion, the composer who has the most personal style of all the film composers is John Barry.
Yeah.
You just need 2 or 3 notes of John Barry and you recognize his style.
Really? Yeah. Wow.
And Ennio Morricone, Nicola Piovani, and Georges Delerue also have a personal style. But there are other composers who really doesn't have that strong personal style. For example, James Horner was someone who at the beginning imitated the style of Jerry Goldsmith and maybe never succeeded to have really a personal style, so strong, so recognizable. And so it's interesting. And the young composer, also students in composition that I had, they don't know anything about the other composer in film music. They know something about John Williams, something about Hans Zimmer, and nothing else. They don't know who is Georges Delerue. They never heard the music of Mario Nascimbene. I don't know. They don't have a culture of the composer in film music. They didn't really know the music of the composers who was before, and that's I don't know how to say it's a mistake. They need to know those composers and the music they wrote.
Yeah, absolutely. And I was thinking about what you say. Yeah, you are right. People nowadays go to a movie for action movies or because there's an attractive guy or an attractive lady or the plot, but nobody, well, maybe 90% of people don't put attention to the film score. So it's always in the background. It's always in the background.
With the exception, if there is a well-known song used in the film,
right, yeah,
song that already exists, then maybe they pay attention. So the tricky, let's say, the solution that a few composers have had in the past to try to keep the main melodic theme in the head of the viewers, or to repeat many times the music theme inside the film. And this sometimes could work because unconsciously something reminds in the brain of the viewer, and maybe they will sing that melody after they saw the film. But it's not sure even that. The only solution is to have the LP or the CD of the film score that people can listen outside the film. Then at that point, the music will have a life in its own, in concerts, at the radio, or by listening again the music outside the film.
Yeah. But there is a good percentage of film compositions that are never released. They are never released. Like I've been looking for some composition from the 80s, from the 90s. I email, different record label or movie directors or people that I know in the business, and they don't release it. They don't know who they have,
the rights,
have the rights and so forth. And so some people would never be able to.
Listen, Well, now they are releasing scores that have never been released before. Because, for example, the Spanish label Quartet Records
Yeah.
are releasing a lot of Italian, actually, I don't know why, Italian film scores that had never been released before. So, of unknown of films not very important. So something sometimes can. For example, I talked to my friend Maurizio De Angelis. I don't know him. One of the two brothers, Guido and Maurizio De Angelis. They are two composers, Italian composers, and I proposed him to release the music of an Italian movie. And he said, yes, Marco, but there's a problem. We don't find anymore the recordings of that score because it was recorded, with all the magnetic recording system, and sometimes they disappear, those files, or they are damaged, and there is no way to find anymore the music. It can happen. Yeah.
Wow. That's
Yeah.
what's a pity.
Yeah.
What other, maybe other producer or film director that can anticipate that the movie is going to play a big part? For example, will be in the case of your latest movie, right, with Ellen Williams, right, releasing that a particular song that's going to be popular ahead of time, like 3 weeks or for a month, sending that to a radio station, to
Exactly.
a festival, so the people in the background, oh, I really like the voice of Mrs. Williams, or oh,
We are
and
trying.
2 weeks from now she's going to be, release a new movie. So that's kind of an advertising gimmick,
We
right?
are
So
trying to do that with that song because the song is really deep, heart-touching song, and her voice was perfect. I was sure that she was perfect for that song. When I heard a few covers she did of the James Bond movie No Time to Die,
yeah,
the song by Hans Zimmer, no, I think was the writer also of the song, and the cover also of Gladiator by. But the not the main theme by Hans Zimmer, but the music by Lisa Gerard, I think, was
yeah.
the and her voice was so beautiful.
Oh man, yeah.
And I thought I sent her a message and asked her if she would be interested, because she never actually recorded the song of an original song for a movie. She made only covers of old songs, so she was very interested. And when I sent her the music, she said, yes, Marco, absolutely. And she wrote the lyrics. So she's co-writer of she's not only the singer,
Yeah,
she's co-writer of the song because she's the author of the lyrics.
yeah.
And I succeeded to record the music in London. That was a goal that I had since 30 years. And there was never the possibility, was always when I was talking to producers and to music publishers, I would like to record in London. You are crazy, it's too expensive. No, 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 no. We record in Bulgaria, we record in Macedonia, we recorded in Budapest, we recorded in Italy. No, London. Finally, I found an Italian music publisher. I must say, very courageous, because in this period when music publishers are investing almost nothing, sometimes they are closing the activity, he accepted to record in London with a strings orchestra, the English Session Orchestra. His name is Kevin Ferry,
Yeah.
of the Sole Trade Music publisher, Chrysler Music Publisher is the company.
Mm.
And he accepted to record only one session of
Yeah.
3 hours with 15 strings, so a very small ensemble, but excellent musicians.
Yeah.
And so finally, I had the possibility to call Ellen Williams, who doesn't live in London, but she lives 1 hour from London, I think, in Galles, in another part of England. And she came to the recording studio, the Angel Studio, and she recorded the song with me, with my assistant who came, and there was also another singer, Lanfranco Carnacina, who came to record another song. And Jon Mansell, who is a British film critic, came to see the recording session,
Yeah.
and other persons. So I succeeded finally to record in London. Of course, I would like to go back to London when we'll have a higher budget and to record with slightly bigger orchestra, or even only 20 strings instead of 15, because the only place where you can have reach the perfection of the performance is in London with British musicians. Otherwise, it's very difficult. Yeah.
It's a big difference between 15 and 20.
Yes, because
or it has to be with the quality of the people or the studio where it's recorded.
No, the quality of the people. The musicians in London were very good, but 15 is very small because we have only 3 violas, 3 cellos, and when one of the 3 cellos make a solo, then you have only 2 cellos, and it's dangerous for the intonation. So even if you have very good musicians,
yeah,
it's difficult. It's dangerous for the perfection of the intonation. When you have 20 strings, 20 British strings, you will not have problems at all. To have the same level of quality with the Bulgarian strings, you need to have 35 strings instead of 20. That's the difference of quality.
Yeah. I understand. So in high school, you were thinking, no, I want to be a movie director, a movie director. And then, how you end up switching careers at the time, I suppose, when you were 18 or 19 and you went to the conservatorio, right?
I made a few private exams at the conservatory, and after many years, yes, I made the conservatory of Frosinone, and I had a degree in choral composition and choral conducting, because I sang for many years in the Vatican choir, and so I thought it was logical to have a degree in music, but something that had to do with the voice, because I was a singer also. And so this is why, and the teacher was very good. It was a woman called Colomba Capriglione. And so I decided to have this degree with her because she was a very good teacher. Yeah.
I got it. By the way, I interviewed Lisa Gerard about 3 months ago. She's an unbelievable person. I mean, it's a human being, and she's a very good person, and her voice is unreal. It's like another world, another galaxy,
And also the music he wrote for the Gladiator with Hans Zimmer was good. I don't know if she wrote other scores after the Gladiator. I'm not sure.
Yeah, she's working with Hans Zimmer now in another film. I think they will do, as far as I know, they're doing Gladiator 2 and another Dunes, I think, too, as well. So she's always busy. Everybody call her and want to get a piece of, some time from her, because
I would love to meet Hans Zimmer. I know that he has a wonderful studio in Los Angeles. I saw the photos. And actually, I know Tom Boyd, who's an oboe player, very good oboist, who worked with Hans Zimmer, and he sent to Hans Zimmer my adagio for the victims of Auschwitz, an adagio for oboe and strings, and I think that Hans Zimmer liked the composition. So I don't know if next time, it's a long time I don't fly to Los Angeles. Next time I go to LA, I hope that I will have a chance to meet Hans Zimmer, because he's a person who likes to work with other composers, as additional music with many other composers.
Yeah, I saw the what you mentioned about Auschwitz. It's only like a single. It's not a complete film score, right? No,
it's not a film score. It's a composition for the concert.
It's just a composition. It's beautiful. Yeah, I listened to that.
Thank you. Who actually was performing it during a classical music concert a few years ago.
Yeah.
And now in January there will be a new performance, but instead of the oboe player, there will be a very good musician called Marianne Lee, who is a trumpet player, and so we'll have a different sound, more solemn, more epic, with the trumpet at the place of the oboe instead of the oboe. Strings, trumpet. Yeah.
I got it. And then from the particular degree that you got in choral conducting, you end up studying also here in New York, right? The Mount School.
I studied, yeah, that's funny. That was before. I had a few master classes in orchestration and also film music. There was a teacher. He was also a film music composer, but not well known. His name was Jacob Stern. I think he died. I think he wrote more music for advertisement, you know, for the cars, Ford, or I don't know, or Chrysler, I don't know which cars. And he also wrote he wrote the music for a gangster movie, but I don't remember the title. And the masterclass was interesting because he was explaining a scene without watching. We didn't see that music, that scene from a film that he was talking about. He was only describing the scene, and we I think we were only 5 or 6 students, needed to write the music for an hypothetic scene that we didn't see. And the day after, we had a jazz orchestra of students of the same school was performing our music. So we already had the possibility the day after to listen to the music, to record it in a with a Revox recorder, with the magnetic system, and to discuss the music, to talk about the music, and see if it, in our opinion, was good for that kind of scene.
Okay.
So this was my first experience in imagining, in creating music for an hypothetic film without watching the film. It was strange, but yeah,
It happened to me as well, Marco. I have soundtracks of movies that I never seen. A lot, I think like 30, 50. You know, and I don't know, for time, you know, I don't have perhaps the 2 hours to watch a movie or whatever I couldn't find on Netflix or whatever. And I listened to the score with my headphone, and I try to imagine what the movie is about. It's science fiction. Of course, it's if it has a lot of organic or electronic, very likely it's a kind of a futuristic movie or that kind of stuff. And but I wouldn't know if it's a comedy or not. I really like the music by itself without knowing if the film is great, if the film is terrible or not. It's kind of independent things, I think.
From the title of the tracks, you can have an idea of the kind of music the composer wrote. And as you know, for thrillers movies, there are 2 schools of thoughts. The first one comes from Bernard Herrmann, was the most important composer for these kind of films. And still today, there are a few influences from Herrmann in the orchestral writing. And the other school of thought, you know probably very well, is it was born with Tubular Bells by Mike Oldfield.
That's right.
But the composition was not written for a film, but the director was very intelligent and smart, understood that this composition, repetitive, and obsessive, could work well for a story of a children who is possessed by the devil.
Yeah.
And he was right.
Yeah, I have seen that movie. I have seen that movie so many times, The Exorcist, and man, it drives me crazy. Give me, you know, I'm afraid after watching the movie, and I know the movie so well. I know the lines, I know the script inside, I know the music, but still, every time that I watch it, every year or every 2 years,
you're scared.
Still, I say, man, way ahead of the time. The guy was unbelievable. I mean, he's unbelievable. He's still alive.
And I saw a documentary about the director of the film, who was talking about how the music was born. And actually, at the beginning, he wanted an original score, and he asked it to Lalo Schifrin to write the music, but it was not at all the music he wanted. So at the end, he ended up listening to a lot of music, already existed music, repertoire music. And between all this music, there was this piece, Tubular Bells, that he tried with the images, and he saw it was working very well.
Yeah, he listened to the record, I think, and then I knew, no, that's exactly what I want. It's hard. And what's happened with a film, you know, a producer or a film director, they give, like you say, Lalo Schifrin at the beginning, and then he ended up composing some music. The director didn't like it. What's happened with the composition? Goes away, or?
Yeah, that's a good question. You know, in America, not only in America, but especially in the United States, they are what we call the rejected scores. There is a composer who is hired, he's paid, that's good. he writes the music, he recorded the music with the orchestra, and or the director or the producer or both, they decided that that music is not really good for the film, and they throw the music and they call another composer. And at that point, the music, I'm not sure if the composer he's allowed to use it in another movie, and he can keep the ownership because he was paid for that music. But there are sometimes situations where that music rejected is published on a CD.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure if the composer could reuse it in a film. That's something which we should understand, because it's an interesting question. Yeah.
Yeah, because right, if he hasn't got paid, he could use it because he's a.
No, he's paid. I'm sure he has a contract, so he's
Oh,
paid.
yeah.
And this happened also to big composers like Jerry Goldsmith. For example, for the film, it's called the film by Ridley Scott, Legend.
Mm.
He wrote the music. They thought it was too traditional, and they called Tangerine Dream.
That's right.
To write an electronic score, and they thought that the music was more commercial and could help the film to be more successful, but the film was not successful at all anyway. Even with the Tangerine Dream music.
Yeah, Tangerine Dream is great. I have
It was a good. They wrote a very interesting film music. For example, Firestarter, that was taken from a Steve from I call the writer Stephen. You know the film Firestarter, no?
Yeah, you're not talking about Steven Spielberg, right? No.
No. The writer. It was taken from a book by a famous writer who writes. He wrote also the Carrie by Brian De Palma. Was taken by his book. What's the name? Right now I can't remember his name. He's an American writer specialized in horror books, thrillers, and many films were taken by him. But right now I can't remember his name, but it's okay.
Well, I got curious. You're not talking about the Scott Teams?
No. The book was taken from
because he is a screenplay.
From a novel. He's the most famous writer in America of horror books, and many films were taken from his book. Carrie by Brian De Palma.
Stephen King.
Stephen King, exactly.
Yeah,
Stephen King.
Right, yeah.
And also Firestarter. And the music about Tangerine Dream for Firestarter was interesting.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Yeah. All right. So at the beginning, also you were writing at some point in your time for the film music magazine Soundtrack and Cinemascore, and you end up interviewing a lot of famous people as well there, right?
That was also interesting. It was useful to me to understand especially how they started to write music for film. That's something that to me is very curious, because most of those composers started by chance to write music for films. Gabriel Yared, I don't know if you know him, he won the Oscar for The Ancient English Bench, was an arranger of pop singers. Sylvie Vartan, Charles Aznavour, Gilbert Bécaud. And a friend of him told him, but why are you making arrangements for those singers? Because then the prestige will go to the singer, and no one will think about the music you wrote, and your name will not come out. Only the name of the singer, which is true actually. When you write a song, there's only the name of the singer.
That's
right. The composer is not important. No, they don't care. And so he suggested him to write music for film. And he started to write music for Nouvelle Vague, for the French Jean-Luc Godard, etc. But it was by chance.
Wow.
By chance. I don't know if you knew Stelvio Cipriani, an Italian composer.
No.
He was well known for Anonymous Venetian, the Bermuda Triangle by René Cardona. I'm talking most more small Italian films. But he also wrote the music of Piranha #2 by James Cameron. The first movie by James Cameron.
Yeah.
Produced by Ovidio Sonitis. So he was not an important composer, but sometimes he wrote some interesting good score, romantic dramatic scores. And he was a pianist. He was the pianist of pop singers also. Pop singer, but he was not even the composer. He was only the pianist. He was playing the piano, arranging on the piano the songs by a few singers. One of the singers was an Italian actor, was also a singer, and he involved with him in the composition of an Italian western called right now I can't remember the title of the movie, but it was a independent, low-budget Italian western filmed in Spain, and Cipriani had the possibility to write the music of that film. And from that point on, he started to write film scores. Otherwise, he would keep maybe doing the pianist of pop singers.
That's right.
So most of them, except Philippe Sarde, who always, who's from the beginning wanted to write film music, and myself, from the beginning, I was interested in writing film music because I started with the idea of becoming a director.
That's right, yeah.
But all the other composers, with the exception of Philippe Sarde and maybe someone else, I don't know who, Ennio Morricone started by chance to write music for films. He started to write classical contemporary music under the suggestion of Goffredo Petrassi, was his teacher. He started to arrange pop music to get some money, and for many Italian songwriters and singers. And by chance, he ended up writing music for films with the comedy by Luciano Salce, Il Federale.
Yeah.
So it's interesting. By all the interviews that I made, I started to understand, the way of thinking of those composers, their style, and how they began this career. And it was interesting.
Absolutely. How long does it take on average to create a film? I mean, a particular film score on average. Yeah. Can you do like 2 or 3 a year or no?
Oh, of course, yes. And they only usually they give you 3 weeks to write the music of the film.
Oh,
with an exception of it's a big film, you can have 1 month.
Yeah.
Maybe to Hans Zimmer, they give him 2 months, but I mean, it's an exception. Usually they give you 3 weeks. And in 3 weeks, this is why, that's a tricky question. Most of the American composers, and not only, they use orchestrators because they don't have the time. They have time to orchestrate the music. They need to work with 2 assistants, an orchestrator, or 2 or 3 orchestrators, in order to moving fast, to move fast. Hans Zimmer has a lot of collaborators. This way, if they need to, they ask him a change, collaborator immediately work and help him to make the change. Otherwise, you need to go very fast. This is something I try to teach to my students, who are very slow usually. They need 3 days to write 3 minutes of music. That's not possible. That's not possible to have 3 days to write 3 minutes of music. You need to do it in 1 day at least, or even half a day sometimes.
Wow.
So you need to be very fast when you write film music. For Giallo, I had only one collaborator. His name is Guido Zen, who was helping me synchronizing the music for film, with the images, synchronizing perfectly, working frame by frame. So I was working 9 hours a day. When I finished the composition with more or less a timing not perfect, I was sending to him. He was doing a perfect synchronization. Then I would finish it, the second one, I was sending to him. It was like, a machine. 9 hours a day. Otherwise, in 3 weeks, we were not able to finish the 40 minutes of music, orchestral music.
Yeah. That's great. What happened when, let's say, you record 40 minutes of music, right? And they end up using 25 minutes of the music, right? Sometimes when I go to a movie, I listen to a movie, right? I of course I don't know there is more than in my example, right? So in my example, you created 40 minutes, they use 25. I have no idea what happened with the other 15 minutes, right? And then they end up creating the soundtrack or the vinyl a month later or whatever. And there is some music that it was never used in the film.
Yeah, yeah, of course, it can
Sometimes
happen.
the other way around. Sometimes there is a great music in the minute 35 of a movie, and I really like. I buy the CD, it was not there. So who when the make decision what what portion to use in a film, and two,
Uh,
what portion of those will go into a particular soundtrack or vinyl that is released down the road.
okay. So the decision of where the music should go in in the scenes in the film, and if they need to keep that music or not is the director.
Yeah.
Usually, he's the one who has the last word. For example, for the Tunisian movie, The Island of Forgiveness, I wrote around 35 minutes of music. At
Yeah.
the end, the director used only 20, not even 20 minutes of music. So there is 15 minutes of music not used in the film. But that's his decision. I cannot, I cannot only suggest. But most of the film music composer they like to have a lot of music in the film because they will have more royalties. I
Yeah.
don't care. I prefer to have less music, but to have the music in the right places and at the right volume. That's another question. That in America, they tend American producers and directors they tend to put the sound effects on the top and music on the background, even if it's a symphonic music playing loud, fortissimo. That doesn't make sense to me. If you have a war film, a war scene, and you have a symphonic music, you need to hear that music. It doesn't make sense that you prefer to hear the sound effects. Then you need to do like Oliver Stone. You need to take a decision. In that war scene, it is more important to have the music or to have the sound effects. One of the two, not the two things together because they will disturb each other. You need to have the courage to decide this. Oliver Stone in Platoon and Salvador, in the ralenti scene when there was someone dying during an explosion, he took out the sound effects and left only the adagio for strings by Samuel Barber. Only music, no sound effects. That's the courage that directors should have. You need to decide what is more important. But the two things together, they will disturb each other. That's something that the Americans need to. If I succeed, I will succeed to write the music of a Hollywood movie. I will fight to keep this idea. If you have the music, you need to listen to this music. If there are no dialogues, there's no reason why the sound effects must be more important than music in that scene. And so you need to make a decision. Okay, to go back to the to the question. Yes, there are films where the music you can find in a CD soundtrack, LP or CD, not always has been used in the film.
That's right.
Yeah, not all the music. I mean, some parts, yes, some other no. It happens.
Yeah. Somebody at the end of the movie or whatever, when the movie is ready to be distributed, somebody make the decision and they say, okay, I want to use that track, that one, number 3, 5, 7, 4, but I'm not going to use 2, 4, 6, and 8, right? Whatever the track.
Usually, sorry, there is someone working on the
Okay.
so there are some noises that sound effects that
We're talking about music, so this
we can't take out those sound effects, but
that's okay.
unfortunately in this case we have it.
That's
The
right.
director, but sometimes they are using a part of that composition.
Yeah.
For example, in The Island of Forgiveness, there is a scene that for me was important, is the death of one of the main characters of the movie. I wrote the composition for all the scene from the beginning to the end, and the director used only half of the composition, the first part,
Yeah.
and not the second part. It's a decision. I respect the decision because for him it was more important to leave the silence after he's dead, the protagonist, and the sound of the sound effects. But that I respect this decision. Of course, it would have been better if he would told me before, Marco, write music of only from this point to this one, because after I want to leave the silence of or the sound effects instead of let me write all the music and then that's another point. But it's okay. I respect that point of view.
I understand. Early in your life, you end up, I think it's 1989. You end up creating the film musical score for the film Zoo, and then
Yes.
you end up winning the Italian prestigious Italian award called Colonna Sonora Award. Feel free to elaborate on that one. So.
Oh yeah, that was my first film score. Actually, it was a very good film. Unfortunately, it was not successful at the box office, but a very, very poetic movie. And I worked with with passion. For example, in that film, I was involved before the shooting, so I had a lot of time to think about the three music themes that are in the film.
Yeah,
three main music themes. Yeah. So I was only 25 years old, and the director, who is a woman called Cristina Comencini, actually she's the daughter of a well-known Italian director called Luigi Comencini, who in Italy was very well known for a few comedies and also for the TV series Pinocchio, with the music by Fiorenzo Carpi. I don't know if you knew this composer, Fiorenzo Carpi.
No,
it was very good. You need to listen to the music of Pinocchio.
I need to check it out. I'm writing myself a note here to do it.
By Fiorenzo Carpi, because he was a very good Italian composer, Carpi. Nowadays, not so many people remembers him, but he was a good composer. And so the director, she wanted to use some classical music inside the film, and she selected two compositions, one by Debussy, Je, and one by Ravel, Le Jardin Féerique, has a French title, those composition, who actually worked very well on the two scenes she wanted to use it. So she had a very good culture on classical music, and she was an intelligent woman. So we had a good collaboration, and unfortunately, we had just a small discussion at the end for technical reason, and we didn't work again, unfortunately. But she's a very intelligent director, and I had the chance, yes, to win this award, and the award celebration was in the Sanremo theater, where there was also Ennio Morricone taking the Colonna Sonora Award, Lifetime Achievement Award. Francis Lay, who had the Colonna Sonora Lifetime Achievement Award, and Claudio Mattoni, I think he had an award for the song for Scugnizzi, an Italian movie. So I was 25 years old. I was close to Ennio Morricone and Francis Lay.
Wow.
No, it was, I was
an honor for you, man. Wow.
And
especially that you received that award early in your life, as opposed to later on in your life. So that was a great start.
Absolutely, yeah. And with Ennio Morricone, I didn't have a good relationship, let's say, rapport. No, I was not at the beginning, no, because they didn't at that time I didn't yet complete my music studies, and he was, very, I would say, he thought that musicians that were not they didn't complete the music study were not good musicians, let's say that.
Yeah.
So he had this idea, and it was difficult to let him change this idea in mind, and instead with Francis Lay I had a very good relationship. He was a very, very nice person, Francis, and I went to meet him in Paris at his house, at his home at the Trocadero in Paris. I remember he was offering me a fruit juice, biologic fruit juice, very good fruit juice. And there was a chance to organize a film music festival in Italy, and unfortunately didn't happen. And I proposed him to be the president of the jury, and Francis was ready to come to Rome, to come to Italy to be the member of the jury. Unfortunately, the festival didn't take place. Then there was a French TV movie for which I wrote a composition for choir called le Voyage Organisé.
Mhm.
And they wanted to have a French composer for the rest of the music. I proposed the name of Francis Lay, but the producer of the TV movie proposed the name of another person, a woman, young composer. This is why for television, the producer has many power, decisional power.
Yeah.
And so it ended up that also this time the collaboration with Francis Lay didn't work.
Wow.
Then the destiny wanted that for the third time the collaboration worked. Then it happened. An Italian director, now I worked again, and I will tell you for which film, did a movie about the Naples of 16th century, called for an Italian hero called Masaniello, who fought against the Spanish conquerors in Naples when Naples was the capital of Italy before becoming Rome the capital.
Yeah.
Naples was the first city in Italy at the time. So he asked me to write the music of the film, but the director told me that I needed to find an Academy Award nomination who could write the main love theme, the main music theme, or the love theme of the film. I said, then why not working with Francis Lay, who won the Oscar for Love Story? He said, oh yes, that's a great idea. Yes, okay. Then we convinced the production to pay us the airplane ticket to Paris. We made an appointment on a Sunday morning with Francis Lay at his house at 11 in the morning. We arrived exactly at 11 in the morning. Francis opened the door. Marco, welcome, Brad. And we talked to the director, to the Francis, about the story of the movie. And Francis and we came back to Rome. After 1 month, Francis sent us 2 music themes. We selected one of the 2. I orchestrated the music, and we recorded in Bulgaria together with my compositions. So I made 2 or 3 orchestrations, 2, 3 versions of his music theme, together with the other 3 music themes and the dramatic suspense music I wrote for the film. And it's the only time in all his life, Francis Lay life, in which Francis wrote a music theme inside the film score of another composer.
Wow. Yeah.
Because usually it's music by Francis Lay, arranged and conducted by Christian Gaubert or Jean Musset.
Correct.
This time was music by Marco Werba, a love theme by Francis Lay, orchestrated by Marco Werba. It's a little difference.
That's big difference. Of course, big difference.
The only time in which he accepted to have a composition inside the film score for him. And he was very happy with the orchestration and the performance.
Good for you. Good for you. Was Ennio Morricone? I have read some interview that he was very difficult person to work with, and he was very tough with his own kids. He would I hear that he will. I don't want to use the word here, but he will criticize his 2 kids in front of an orchestra, in front of a lot of people. So it was I don't know, maybe. Well, it was the only difficult person to work with, right?
Oh, of course, yes. The only son who is a musician is Andrea.
Yeah.
Andrea Morricone. The other sons are not, and the daughter is not a musician. She's a doctor. I think she works in a pharmacy or something like that. So the only one is Andrea, who now, after the death of his father, is conducting orchestra, conducting the music of his father, and keeping. He's not writing so much film music, I think, Andrea. He did it when his father was alive, because his father, of course, introduced him to a few directors, and they worked also together in a few film scores. But now, by himself, he's not writing so many film scores, I think.
See, yeah.
But he's conducting concerts, writing contemporary music, I think, or conducting contemporary music too, I think.
It might be difficult for children to have the same last name, because at the beginning, open doors at the beginning. But then again, if you are not at the same level, people will criticize you, I suppose, right?
Yeah, but they call him to direct the music of the father, of course, because he keeps the tradition.
Yeah,
he keeps the name of the father, and he's the right person to conduct the music of his father, I think. He's his son, no? And the love theme he wrote for Nuovo Cinema Paradiso is lovely. Most of the people think when they made covers of that theme, they wrote music by Ennio Morricone, but that piece is not by Ennio Morricone, it's by Andrea.
That's right.
And they forgot to put the right name when they made the covers of the love theme by Nuovo Cinema Paradiso.
Well, maybe they did on purpose. I don't know. I don't know.
Of course, yes.
When people say a mistake, no, not really. It was a mistake. And then in 2009, feel free to elaborate the movie Giallo by Dario Argento. The film score is excellent.
Thank you.
How was it like with the maestro?
Was a great experience, and went very well, the collaboration. I was right. I know that was like that film was the most important film for my career. I was, between Dario Argento, who is the composer working with Ennio Morricone, Leonardo the Goblin, Keith Emerson, and the production company who trusted me.
Wow.
I needed to give the maximum I could give, and to give the music in the time I had at the disposal, the 3 weeks they gave me. I could not give it one day after or 2 days later. So it was important experience to me. So I started writing a few music themes in sync, music demos. Then I was going to Dario Argento's house. I was living in Rome, in Viale Liege at Parioli at that time. Now I think he moved. And I was putting the headphones and let him listen the music demos with the scenes. And he was saying, "No, Marco, I like Murmur." The third time I went to meet him, he said, "Marco, listen, I trust you. We don't need to come again to my house. I'm sure that the music you are running is good. Let's meet in 2 weeks at the airport, and we go to record with the orchestra," because he came with us in Bulgaria to record with the orchestra.
Okay.
So I was happy with this, but I had the responsibility that if some of the music he would listen for the first time during the recording, if he didn't like or he wanted to make a few changes, when could I make those changes? I didn't have time. 10 minutes break between one session to the other was not possible.
No possible.
So there was a big responsibility. Fortunately, he liked all the compositions, all the music, and the only time when he talked to me on the headphones was in a scene when there is we see the house of the female protagonist by Emmanuelle Seigner, she is an hostess in Paris, the house in Paris, and we see the door of the house. Then the camera is moving slowly between. We see the rest of the house, and the camera stops on the bathroom when she's taking a shower. And in my opinion, the music needed to start when we see the bathroom, not before, because we already had music not so long ago in another scene I wanted to leave a few, we are talking about 50 seconds, not so much, 50 seconds of silence, and only the sound of the water coming from far away from the bathroom. And I synchronized the music from that point on. And Dario said, no, Marco, I want that the music starts from the beginning, from the door. I said, listen, Dario, listen before to what I have done. If you don't like it, after, not now, I will put you another music that will connect to this one.
Sure.
Okay. So I conduct the orchestra, I conduct the composition, small break. I go to the recording room was upstairs when there is the mix, and the sound engineer and Dario Argento was there.
Yeah.
I looked at Dario Argento in his face, and Dario said, Marco, you was right. The music works this way.
Oh,
So it was
great.
a big satisfaction. He understood that my solution was helping in the scene.
That's right. Yeah.
Is it was better to leave a few seconds of silence?
Yeah.
You know, maybe another director, younger director, more arrogant and pretentious, would have keep his
Yeah.
idea. No, I want the music from the beginning of the scene. And we no, more arrogant. He was intelligent. He understood, and he accepted the solution, my proposal.
Yeah, that's great that you were able to work with him and he listened to you. Like you mentioned, sometimes many directors say, "No, I'm the boss. I tell you what to do, not the other way around." And then you need to stay in the background.
That's something I don't understand, because the director, okay, he's the most important figure in a film, but his collaborators are not slaves. They are artistic collaborators who had to have a feeling with him
That's
and to
right.
exchange proposals with him in order to get the best results. So they should have the same level, should be at the same level of collaboration, not slaves and the chief commander, but
Right.
collaborators that understand that they are intelligent, that they talk between them to get the best results. This is what I think it should be. I mean,
No, I completely agree. In 2009, you did another music film score. I think it was a documentary called Secretum Secretorum de Celestial.
no, that's
It's a
a
documentary, right?
small documentary.
Yeah, I have not seen the documentary, but I listened to the soundtrack. It's very good, actually.
Oh, thank you. Where did you find this?
I found it on the internet. It wasn't
Oh, okay.
Spotify or was
Okay,
I don't have it, but I would think it was Spotify or other website that I go to listen. That particular website that are
Oh, there
very good
was a
for films film
the
composers, right? So
Oh, that's fine. I didn't remember there was the possibility to listen to that music.
yeah, it's very good, actually.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
It's very, very good. I never, as I said before, I never seen the documentary. In general, how many times? I mean, do you prefer to see when working with a new director, right? I hire you. I'm a new director in town, and I hire you to compose the music for my film. How many times do you prefer to see the movie ahead of time, or perhaps the script ahead of time?
No, it's not. It's a good question. It's not a matter of if I prefer. If when the film is not yet filmed, there is the shooting didn't start, then the only possibility to understand the movie is to read the script. But when the film is filmed and you have an editing, a first editing, then the best solution is to see the film, not to read the script. Because the composer needs to work with the images. Because also, Gabriel Yared. Gabriel Yared prefers, for example, to work on the script, but he's an exception. Composers, I don't know who was telling this, but when you read the script, you know the story, but then the story could change in the way the director will shoot the movie.
Absolutely,
the way the actors will act, in the way the lights will be, in the way the camera will be. So the only way to understand if your music works is to see the images, not only to read the script.
That's right. Yeah, exactly. For the script to the directing to the actor, the line, the stage is very different. A script will be very different 2 months from now when you have images in front of you. So composing music from the script is very different to compose music when you are seeing the image, raw images 2 months from now, right? So then you can really start composing because at the time you really know what the movie is about, not from the script, right?
From the script you can have an idea and write 1, 2, or 3 music themes, but
Yeah.
until you will not see the images, you will not understand if those music themes really work with the movie. And then you have to synchronize music with images, which is the most tricky part. I mean, it's not easy to synchronize, especially when you have an orchestra who needs to play the music. You cannot change the metronome speed too often because the musician will become crazy. If you put too many ralentandos and accelerandos, of the speed will change too many times. Will be difficult for the orchestra to play the music, But sometimes it is necessary to keep that sync, to accelerate or to decelerate a little bit the click. That's a technical part.
Okay. You mentioned before that you in general you have around 3 weeks to
Yes.
It seems to be that is not enough time.
This is why you have orchestrators. In the past, I never worked with orchestrators. I orchestrated myself. Now, also, I'm starting to have a few orchestrators who work with me and help me. For example, I have a young woman who is my assistant, who is also an orchestrator, Chiara Casà. I have someone from Sicily, Michele Catania, who in the latest movie by Angelo Antonucci, the same director of the film of the Naples of the 18th century. I worked with him on another film, who is about Italian hero Goffredo Mameli. And I had Michele Catania, who is Sicilian, who helped me on the orchestration and on the additional music of the film. And I have someone living in Genova called Pierpaolo Luca, who also sometimes orchestrated some of my music. And now maybe someone else. So you need to have collaborators who help you sometimes, because it's too much work to make yourself everything, orchestration, synchronization, all the music of the film. Sometimes it's good to have additional music composer who writes music for the less important scenes, let's say, because it take out some work, from you.
What percentage of the budget in general is allocated to the music of the film versus the director and the actresses and actors?
Almost nothing. I had an agent in America. He was saying to me that usually the budget for the music of the film should be the 2% of the budget of the movie. But here in Italy, it's never the 2%. Is the 0.5% or something like this sometimes.
Yeah,
It depends on the budget of the movie, of course. But they don't have respect for the music, for the composers. The budgets are really ridiculous now for the music of the films, and they pretend that the music publisher pays for the music. Now, in the past, the music publishers financed almost sometimes for the full film score, because film had a better distribution, more possibility of having a good royalties. Now, it's we don't know the film. How long if he will go to a movie theater, how long he will stay, if the television will take it for only for once or for more time. We don't know. It's a mystery. We don't know so music publisher don't want to invest in film music, or if they invest almost nothing. And the composer is in a situation where the film production doesn't want to invest. The music publisher doesn't want to invest, or just a little bit. And the composer doesn't know what to do. It's a tragedy almost. So fortunately, I have this music publisher, as I said before, Kevin Ferry, who invested in this film a decent fee. But we don't know in the next film if he will accept to invest the same thing. I also have a French music publisher who financed some of my latest film scores, but with small budgets, of course, not big with big theater, but I have a good relationship with him. His name is Jacques Desjean of Plaza Mayor Company, and but otherwise, the film productions need to understand that they need to invest more music on the music of the film. Now, for next year, I hope they will succeed to get away from low budget movies, because I mean it's the same effort, the same professionality that you invest in a high budget movie is the same that you invest in a low budget movie.
That's right. If it's going to take you 3 weeks to do a particular movie with I'm the director, right? You get paid, I don't know, I want to make something up, $3,000 versus $10,000, right? There's 3 weeks of your time doing that stuff. So one is a low budget, the other is moderate.
And they pretend, to have an important music, even if they don't pay you, they pay you almost nothing. And the film doesn't have a visibility because it's a low budget film.
Yeah.
It will not have a regular theatrical distribution. So it brings you to nowhere. Now, when you are at the beginning, it makes sense because you need to build your curriculum, your bio.
Right.
No? But now, why I should keep working for low budget films? It's crazy, So I need to have the courage to say no sometimes, and to wait for the right occasion for the bigger film. That's the.
Do you have I want to put you on this, but do you have the courage nowadays to say no? I don't want that film, but I like something like this.
I need to start to have that courage,
Because at the same time, you need to pay your bills. You have a family.
Yeah, no, I know.
You need to pay rent, whatever.
I know, but I had many films in the last 6 months. I made many music for films, many films.
Yeah.
And I can't stay 3-4 months without working. I mean, if it's necessary. Of course, I cannot say 1 year without working. I can say waiting for the right film. Now I have still another low budget movie by an Indonesian film, a very violent movie. But after that, I hope really to succeed to let understand productions that they need to invest more to increase the budget. Even if it's another big film, they need to increase the budget for the music. That's my goal, my ambition.
And like you saying, sometimes at the beginning you needed to orchestrate your own music, and now you can use other orchestrators that help you out. So that's the question that I always have: how Hans Zimmer was able to create, I don't know, maybe 10 scores a year, and in reality he get the credit. He put Hans Zimmer and everything, but it's Johnny, Peter, and Mary who are real doing the.
He has a big crew. He has many orchestrators, but also other composers. Also Christopher Young. He has 2 or 3 orchestrators, and one of them actually probably will work with me on next film score because he's Italian. But Hans Zimmer has more than 2 or 3, and he has I don't know how many collaborators who work with him. He has a crew who works with him at the remote session. He's a wonderful big studio in Los Angeles.
Yeah. Have you ever been there?
No, I was telling before that I would like to meet him in Los Angeles and to visit his studio in the future, because oboist Tom Boyd worked with him and he wanted to introduce me to Hans Zimmer. Actually, I should have met Christopher Young when I was in Los Angeles, but it was the last 3 days, and my agent at the time wanted to introduce to me, but there wasn't the time for him to meet him in those days, and so I didn't meet him.
Well, if you ever go, let me know. We go together.
You want to meet Christopher Young?
Of course,
he's a good composer.
He's a good composer. He had done a lot of great film, and now because he's working with Lisa Gerard nowadays, from the.
You mean you're talking about Hans Zimmer?
Yeah, I'm talking about Hans Zimmer. Yeah,
Hans Zimmer.
I will have to. Yeah, these people are difficult to get a hold of them. They're very famous, but so
Of
busy.
course.
And yeah, like you say, they have so many people working under him, right? Although he would put the name on everything, but
But let me tell you something funny. Hans
yeah,
Zimmer, at the beginning, he was an electronic music composer,
of course, yeah,
have a classical music background. And he started by chance by writing one composition, electronic composition, for the erotic movie Histoire d'eau #2. Music by Stanley Meyers, who was a British composer who I met. He was a friend of mine. And he gave him the possibility to Hans Zimmer to write a composition in this film.
wow, I didn't know
Histoire
that.
d'eau #2, and not so many people know that.
No,
And now Hans Zimmer is a
the
big
top of the
star,
world.
and no one remembers anymore Stanley Meyers, who was the composer of the cavatina for the Deer Hunter, the film Deer Hunter, and made also many other film scores. No one remembers anymore Stanley Meyers.
Yeah, sometimes you think it. I mean, it's destiny, or well, somebody
No,
at the
yeah.
beginning, people help you out as well. You know, at the beginning, Hans Zimmer was some other people would help out and so forth. So it's a little bit of luck at the beginning when you're starting, but
Yes,
then if you're good, you will make your own career, right? So
of
sometimes
course.
you need to be at the right place at the right time. I think, you know.
He was lucky because for Rain Man, I think the the woman of the producer introduced him to Hans Zimmer, who was a German young musician
That's
living in
right.
Los Angeles, and
That's right.
he gave him the possibility to write the music of Rain Man. It
That's
was
right.
his first film score. It was already an important movie,
Yeah.
so he was lucky to start with a good film. Dustin Hoffman, with the right direction for Hollywood films.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Yeah. Sometimes you need a little break in your life. In the 2012, 2014, I will mention just a couple of movies. Feel free to elaborate on what you remember. Inflicted, the 12th Night, the Seventh Hell. What do you remember any memories of those films?
Of course, yes. But the other two you mentioned are feature films made of short films, of
Yeah.
episodes. So they are not really feature films.
Okay.
In The Infliction, yes, it is a feature film. And now it's funny because when I went to LA maybe 8 years ago, there was still my agent. I had an American agent, and a young woman who was a doctor. She worked in the film industry in Los Angeles. I met him in a coffee bar in LA, and she told me that she just finished to work in a film called The Infliction. Actually, the first title was
Inflicted.
Inflicted,
Yeah.
not Infliction. Then they changed it to The Inflicted, and that was a low budget movie. And but if I was interested, he could talk to me to the director about me. I said, of course, let's see how is the situation. When the director knew that I worked with Dario Argento, it was the day after I worked with Dario Argento on Giallo. He wanted to meet me immediately.
Wow.
So I meet him with my agent in a coffee bar in Los Angeles. They find an agreement on the budget for the music.
Yeah.
I went back to Rome, and after 1 month, he sent me the film. I started to work in Rome without meeting anymore the director. So I was synchronizing the music with my collaborator, sending him the music, and sometimes he was asking me for a few changes. We did the changes and sent him back all by remote session by computer.
Yeah.
And it worked out. The only thing, when he mixed the sound of the film in Los Angeles, I was not there, of course, and I was not happy with the volume he put at the music, especially in a murder scene, when the music should have been
Very important, right?
heard at a good volume.
Yeah.
The volume he put at the music was not so, was a little. So I told him this, and he said, Marco, listen, I want that you are happy. When you go back to LA, let me know. We'll hire again the studio mix, and we'll mix again the sound of the film. Okay? I went back to Los Angeles the next year, and I listen, Matan here is his name. I'm coming. What can we mix again the sound of the film? Yes, Marco. He hired the studio. I went then and I show him the difference. The same music, 3 dBs higher of volume. It was much more powerful in the scene. And he had understood the difference. He didn't understand that it was necessary to put the music at the higher volume. And so we made a new mix.
Okay. And it would have been more effective, more efficient to do it the first time around than waiting a year. You flying to Los Angeles, doing it, hiring the orchestra. I mean, could have been done if he had received input from you, at the beginning. It would have been, I don't know, faster, cheaper, more effective, more efficient.
Yeah, but he changed many times the editing of the film. So at the end, it was a fairly good independent thriller.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was not bad, the film. And there were 2 actors who already were well known in the horror thriller genre, American actors.
Yeah.
And so it was a good experience to me. I mean, it was only an electronic film score because we didn't have the budget for an orchestra, but we worked with good samplings, good high quality samplings, and at the end the result was good. I think the music.
Right. Do you prefer to big difference between American director versus, let's say, Italian director? Big differences.
No, I don't think there is a big difference. The only difference, as I said before, is the way I don't understand why Americans, not directors, producers, I don't know who decides this, the volume between the music and the sound effects. That's something we need to have a discussion with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And at the end, whose decision is? Is the director, the producer who need to make the decision, or?
I think more the director in relation to the volume of the music. But let me tell you something. For Giallo,
Yeah.
I was not in Los Angeles. They didn't pay me the airplane ticket, unfortunately, during the mix of the film. And Dario Argento, when he went back to Rome, said that he mixed my music at a very high volume. Maybe he exaggerated, I don't know. And the producer of the film made a new mix because he said it was too loud. And then maybe they went the other way, and now the mix is too low, And sometimes, especially in the scene where there is a taxi, with the killer who's driving the taxi with her first victim, the Japanese girl, I wrote a symphonic composition. Someone told me this sounded almost like Batman by Danny Elfman. It was so symphonic, no?
Yeah.
And they put the volume down. There were only a few sound effects, the car, some noise. There were nothing important, and they decided to put the music at a very low volume, which doesn't make sense in that scene. The music was more important than the sound effects in that specific scene. But I don't know. It was not there, and I couldn't do anything.
Yeah, because unfortunately, like you say that, like film composer have small budget, you have less input, you do your work, you go away, and you don't see the director. You're not in the studio anymore, arguing back and forth. It is like, unfortunately, like film composing in general, they stay in the background. No importance, only 2% of the budget. I hire you for 3 weeks, you go away, you're working something else, and then a year later, a movie's released, and you have less opportunity to argue back and forth with the director, the producer. No, this should be better. And it's in the best interest of the director to listen to the person who wrote the film composition, and the producer want a good movie with a good soundtrack, right? Because the producer at the end would need to record the investment. X number of dollars were spent put this movie together. I need to record my investment, so I see my best interest for the director to really work with the film
No,
composer.
of course.
Right?
Well, for big films, they invest a decent budget. For example, the budgets at Hans Zimmer, I don't know how much is it, but I know that John Williams, the budget for, I mean, his composer fee, someone told me, I don't know if it's true, it's more than $500,000 for one movie.
Wow.
I will not see that fee in all my life.
That's
Not
right,
for one movie, but all the films.
all the films.
500,000.
That's a lot of money, right? Yeah.
Giorgio Moroder, for a film called Mamba was an Italian movie. He asked the equivalent of $1 million for the music, because he was an Academy Award winner, and the director accepted to invest a fee that is normally we make a film in Italy with that film.
That's right. Yeah.
So it's crazy.
When Giorgio Moroder was very popular, he worked with many famous musicians.
Oh, of course.
So of course he got a good reputation so he could maybe
Because
ask.
he won more than one Oscar.
Of course.
For Midnight Express, from Flashdance.
That's right. Yeah.
For the film and for other songs too, especially for songs. But I mean, yeah, he had a lucky career. Now he's not working anymore in film scores, but he's still writing songs, producing artists, singers. So he's still working.
Yeah. Midnight Express was an unbelievable movie.
Midnight Express was his first film score. Yeah,
that's right. Did you ever met Vangelis at all, or
no? Vangelis, no, I never met.
No. Yeah, he died recently. He was unbelievable, man.
Well, I saw. Of course, I saw a video where he's playing a composition with a keyboard. Actually, it sounds more like an organ because there was also the pedals, but the pedals he had were not the pedals of an organ. Each pedals was related to a different sound, like I don't know, the brass section, and he was playing those pedals together with the two hands in two keyboards, like if it was a symphonic orchestra. No, the strings from the brass, the percussion from one pedal, another. It was amazing to see him playing his music in this specific video.
It's unbelievable, the quality. Some of the, especially I'm thinking about Blade Runner now, but he got
Blade Runner, yeah. But also
so emotional. He got so many great stuff. I mean,
of course. But in addition of Blade Runner, it's interesting if you watch the movie Momenti Gloria. Is Italian is Momenti Gloria. The story of the Olympics in Athens in late what's the name of Momenti Gloria? This the sport movie where he won, for which he won the Oscar. What's the title?
Yeah, the runner. I need to look it up. Hold on. Let me see if I can
remember the title right now. I know the title in Italian. Gloria, Chariots of Fire.
Chariots of Fire, right? Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, in addition to the main music theme, which is very nice, it's interesting when you see the first competition, when the runners are ready to run, you hear an electronic music. It's an historical period movie, which is completely different from the music which you would expect for that scene. And it works well. It works as a contrast with the scene, because it's so modern, so electronic, and you didn't expect to have this music in that scene, you know.
The guy was unbelievable. I mean, I have several his soundtrack, the Apocalypse, the Apocalypse Animaux.
Oh yeah, that's the Frederic Rossif
documentary. Blade Runner, Antarctica, and so forth.
Antarctica, yes, the documentary.
He was something else. Man. His music is very emotional to me. You know, when there's kind of music that I can listen. I have seen, you know, most of the movie that he composed with. I can really enjoy the music, or the soundtrack, the film score, even if I have never seen the movies. It stand on his own, if you know what I mean. Yeah.
Yeah. Also, the music he wrote for the movie about Christopher Columbus, no? Conquest, I think it was.
Yeah.
Christopher Columbus.
Yeah, I think it was the 1492, I think, the conquest
Oh,
of paradise.
maybe.
Yeah, but he did a lot of stuff. I think that was a brilliant. I know. I want to mention that you won in 2011. You received the Globo de Oro,
Yes.
Golden Globes.
Yes.
That was a big deal too.
That was a great satisfaction. You know, the funny thing, the crazy thing, you know, the destiny sometimes, you know, makes some tricky situations, sometimes positive and sometimes negative. When I wrote my first film score, Zoo, by Cristina Comencini,
yeah,
I won, as you know, the Colonna Sonora Award, but I was second in the list of best composers for the Golden Globes, for the Italian Golden Globes, already for the first movie. I was second. I almost won the Golden Globes almost. I had to wait until 2011 to win it for this movie called Native by John Reel, who is a mystery thriller, because the jury of the festival liked very much the song I wrote with Franco Simoni, who is an Italian songwriter, and from the song they discover also the rest of the music, of course. And so yeah, I had the chance, fortunately. And you know that also the other funny thing is that Ennio Morricone was present at the at that celebration award, the award celebration of the Globo d'Oro that year, because he was giving an award to Nicola Piovani.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
So Nicola Piovani and Ennio Morricone was also there at the award celebration, and Nicola Piovani did the congratulations, congratulated to me for the awards, for the award. I mean,
yeah. Well, that's a big deal. That's a big deal. I mean, it's a big important award. Nowadays, do you listen to? Let's say during the weekend, you and your wife, your kids go and see a movie. Do you listen to other film composer music, or you prefer to not listen because it can influence you in the next?
No. I like to listen to. As you said, I was a collectionist of film scores. I bought so many LPs, and it was interesting. You know, probably I get influences from all the composers I listen to. Something from someone. It's like I make this example. It's like when Picasso was going to the galleries of other painters, he absorbed something from one painter, something from the other, then transform it in something new with his own point of view. So it's not a problem of listening to a lot of composers. The only thing, you don't need to copy a composer, of course, a specific composition of a composer. But it's good to have an idea of all the. It's necessary that, as I said, the young composers should have more they should listen more to the other composers who died before, who are not living anymore, who are important for the film music area. They need to listen to. They need to know what the other composers did. I mean, you cannot start. It's like if you write classical music, you don't know Bach, Mozart, Beethoven, Chopin, and you start writing music. I mean, it doesn't make sense to me. You need to have a culture in film music.
That's right. Yeah, absolutely. Are there many film schools in Italy that? I mean, it's like a niche. It's not many people study that because it's difficult to make a living, right? Yeah, Hans Zimmer and of course make a lot of money, but that's the exception, you know. Jerry Goldsmith or these are
you're right, Gustavo. It's difficult to make a living only by writing film music. This is why some of the composers are also teacher in the music schools, or they make arrangements, pop music, electronic music, or other things, with a few exceptions. Fortunately, I'm working only as a film composer.
Yeah.
And I'm not doing not so much teaching myself. I just make sometimes a few master classes in film music, and sometimes specific master classes in music for thrillers. And so I'm making an effort, to work, to make a living only by writing film scores. But we are heroes because with the budget that we have here, it's always a fight, a fight. It's tiring to work in these conditions. In these conditions.
Yeah, it's difficult. Yeah, it's difficult to make a living in your situation. But you need to keep on working in what you love. At the end of the
Of
day,
course.
if you were, I suppose you were born to this. When the fortune teller told you when you were
Yeah.
5, you forget about director. You're going to be writing a film
Film
score, and
composer.
then one day won the Academy Award or something.
Yeah, no, I'm looking forward to see if he was right and see which film will be the one, the film that will bring me an Academy Award nomination, which probably will not be an Italian movie because it's almost impossible, that to have a nomination for an Italian movie should be the best Italian movie, the best selected as a European movie that goes to the Academy Award. It's almost impossible. It could happen. It happened with Roberto Benigni and with another Italian director, but it's almost never it happens, So it should be probably an American movie or.
Looking back at your career, you wish it's easy to change the past, but make changes looking backward. But you wish you have moved to the United States, many years ago. If you have stayed there, obviously your life would have
Yeah,
been different living in Los Angeles or wherever.
yeah, maybe you're right. I should have to go to America. Yeah, I think I made a mistake to stay here. But I have my mother who is very old, who's living here in Rome, and my two sisters are living, one in Milan and one in New York. So I'm the only one who is staying close to my mother in the same city. And
No, I
that's
understand. I understand.
also another reason maybe for why I didn't move to LA. And but it's still possible to want to work in America by living in another country. Pino Donaggio did it, and of course he missed a few opportunities, but he did it. Nino Rota did it, and Ennio Morricone did it, and it's more difficult, of course, more tough, but it's not impossible.
Yeah. It's
Ortolani did it also.
Yeah, with the power of the internet right nowadays, it's a
Exactly.
lot easier to move files and communicate and do Zoom meetings like this. Also, it's a lot easier to,
And Nascimbene, I don't know if you knew composer Mario Nascimbene.
Yeah, I know the name. Yeah.
Nascimbene also, before Nino Rota, before Ortolani, before Morricone, before Pino Donaggio, worked in America for big films like The Vikings.
Yeah.
The Vikings. So the other movie about the ancient Rome, who actually the composer should have been Miklos Rozsa, and instead Mario Nascimbene was hired to write the music of that film. So it's a film. The King of Kings is Miklos Rozsa. I can't remember the title of this film. It's a big historical movie, and Nascimbene wrote the music of the film.
I now remember that we're talking about Lisa Gerard. I recently interviewed another American composer who is working with Lisa in different albums called Marcello De Francisci. I don't know. Marcello De Francisci. I will send you the link. It's his music. He composed the movie for this particular. I mean, it's not a film score, but it's called Exaudia. I don't know. Of course, not a film composer. He's a film composer. I mean, it so happened that Lisa Gerard and Marcelo work in this one.
It's an electronic music, I guess.
Yeah, I will send you a link.
Of course.
And let's talk a little bit about the Tunisian feature film, The Island of Forgiveness, that you worked as well that with Ellen Williams. That's a masterpiece, man.
Oh, thank you very much. It's a good movie,
Masterpiece.
actually. You know,
Yeah.
sometimes I like genre movies. I like thrillers, science fiction, horror movies, but I don't like to be a prisoner of that category.
Yeah.
So it's good. It's important, in my opinion, to write sometimes the music of a good art movie,
Yeah.
intellectual movie, or an historical period drama, and change a little bit direction. So since I love historical period drama, so this is not exactly an historical period drama, but it's a good, very good feature film set in the 50s. So we can call it also a period drama. And it's a good movie by a director called Rida Behi. He's Tunisian.
Yeah.
And many years ago, he worked with Nicola Piovani on the
Okay.
music of a film called Soleil de Yen, which actually I knew about this film because there is an LP that exists of that film score. And also he worked also with Jean-Claude Petit, who is another good French composer. So he's a director who has many years of experience, who is intelligent, and who doesn't want too much music in his film. I respect directors who doesn't want too much music, because most of the directors with whom I worked want to have a lot of music to help the film when the film is weak.
Yeah.
And I understand this, but you cannot put too much music because you will ruin the balance. You will ruin the balance between music and sound effects,
Yeah.
and you will destroy the movie if you put too much music. So it's not easy to understand those directors that it's better to have less music. But with Rida Behi, it's the opposite. Sometimes I need to convince him to put some more music because he doesn't want so much music in his films. But I would probably work on the music of his next movie, which actually will be even more important than this film. And there will be an American well-known actor in the cast on this film.
Yeah. Wow, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah, as I say, I listened to the stuff you sent me, and of course I listened to Ellen voice, and she's unbelievable. I mean, there are people that are very, very talented. I mean, it's
She's very talented, and probably I will work again with her. I don't know exactly for which film, but they will find out because she will come to Rome in March to receive an award with Lisa Bernardini, that you know, my press agent.
that's
We
right.
found the situation in which we can give her an award.
Really?
So I'll be very happy to to have her in Rome, to let her visit Rome, to
Yeah.
invite her to dinners and lunches here in Rome, and to introduce her for the award celebration.
When is going to happen? When?
An award, an award.
No, but when next year? You
Oh,
said
in March.
maybe if you guys invite me, maybe we'll
You
attend.
want to come? Of course you can come. You are invited to. We'll be very glad to meet you.
Maybe one day I will receive an award for all the interviews and all the. If I
Well,
get a hold
actually,
of Pino Donaggio and Dario Argento, all of them,
yes.
maybe who is this guy in America from Chile that is having to interview all the Italian?
Well, if you prefer, in February I should receive a European award for the music of this film, for
Really?
the Island of Forgiveness, in Como. Lisa Bernardini is in the organization also,
Yeah.
and it will be in Como. Como is not a city, is far away from Rome. It's close to Milan,
It's called to Milan. Oh, I
but
see.
you can come. You can go to the airport to Milan, and it's
Yeah.
not far. It's 1 hour from Milan. And in February, I should receive this
Sweet.
award. You
Yeah. Keep me,
prefer,
keep
or you prefer March?
Yeah, keep me posted with all the dates so I
Yeah, I will
can
send you.
check
I'll
with.
see if you could come.
I know that in February I'm going a week to London to talk to some musicians as well there, and something for work as well, and definitely going to London. But keep me posted. So what are you working nowadays, Marco?
Well, right now I'm just doing a music demo for an historical period drama. I don't know if I will write the music of the film. You know, the strange film in this, the strange thing, yeah, in this strange, this crazy business that is writing music for films, is that you never know what will happen exactly. If you
Really?
will be hired for this film, if you will have an orchestra, when you will write the music, it's always a challenge. You know, you never know what will happen exactly. You live always suspended, you know, in nowhere, without knowing exactly what will happen. It's crazy.
Yeah. Here in the United States, they call it living on the edge.
Yeah,
Because
exactly. Live on the edge. You need to have a lot of courage, you know, to make this business. And I know that many people would like to ask me how should start by how should I succeed to write music for films. Well, usually the you should start by writing music for short movies. This is the normal way of starting,
yeah,
or by doing the assistant to a composer. You know, Romanian French composer Vladimir Cosma?
yeah, I know the name. Yeah.
Yes. He was the arranger of Michel Legrand.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
Michel Legrand. One day, Vladimir Cosma told me this. One day, he was present. Michel Legrand received a phone call from a producer or from a director, I'm not sure, saying, Michel, we finished shooting of this film. We want that you write the music. When should I write the music? Next month. Sorry, I can't. I'm doing a few concerts as a pianist. He was also a jazz pianist, Michel Legrand.
Yeah.
I cannot write the music for this film. I'm very sorry. Next time. Vladimir asked to Michel, listen, do I need to come with you on the tournée that you are doing, making for the pianist? No, you don't. You can stay in Paris. You don't need. Okay, so I would like to ask you a big favor, Michel. Could you call again the producer of this film and tell him that I am available to write the music at your place?
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Michel, okay, Vladimir, I want to make you this gift. My assistant, Vladimir Kozmai, is available to write the music of your film. And he started his career this way.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah.
So it could be useful to be the assistant of the composer because sometimes it can happen a situation like the one I told you.
At the beginning, when you say be an assistant or writing something for a short film, you're not fully invested. You can try it out when you are earning your life between, I don't know, 20 to 25. You give that a try. It doesn't work. You can always pick a different career, right? Or something.
Oh, of course.
Right.
But there
But
are
with,
people,
you know, the
there are
beginning, you
people,
need to take risks, you know.
exactly. The people, I know that people, after sending a few emails and not receiving an answers, they said, no, I'm tired of trying. I don't want to make this career. But listen, you need to keep sending emails until someone will answer you. If you stop already now, it will be too late. You will not make anything. You
Yeah.
need. I still now I'm sending all the time emails. I saw the films that are in production. I saw that there is not yet a composer. I send a message saying I'm a film composer with 34 years of experience. I'm interested in your film. I won the Italian Golden Globes for this film. I'm available to make a music demo. They don't answer me, not a problem. The next one maybe will answer me, and I keep sending messages. You
Yeah.
need to be
Persistent, consistent,
persistent.
perseverant. You know?
Otherwise you will not get. And now, after so many years, 34 years of activity, I have many situations. I know many producers. I know many directors. I have many projects. Some of them maybe will never be made because they will not find the budget. But if you watch on IMDb, my page, I have at least 20, 25 film projects because I made a lot of contacts. I move a lot. I'm good as a PR, also in public relations. I went to the American film market to meet producers. You know, you need to move, otherwise the things that are not going to start going from the heaven, from the say.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I know what you mean. You need to. It's like happened to me when I opened that YouTube channel at the beginning. I sent like 20 emails, nobody replied, nobody replied, nobody. I said, I'm not doing this, and then one person gave me a chance, then the second, the third, and little by little. At the beginning, about 2 years ago, because I opened the YouTube channel and the radio during the pandemic. I thought, well, maybe if I don't know, 10 or 20 people reply to me, that would be great. I'm happy. I talk to these people, I own the music, and I listen to your music, and then all of a sudden I'm talking to the person. Now I have done over 250, and I keep on going. So, and I won all the big names. One day, Eric Clapton, Hans Zimmer, Pino Donaggio, Dario Argento, and people from, Genesis or Peter Gabriel, whatever. I'm a dreamer. So I need to, you need to dream big, man.
No, of course, you need to try to reach those important composers or artists or songwriters. So I mainly in these 34 years of activity, I wrote mainly music for thrillers, as you know, horror movies. Science fiction I have never done, really. I have done something which is a drama and has some science fiction elements. Now it's called Dimensions Leap. It's a British low-budget movie, but it's not really science fiction. I made one comedy only. I made historical period dramas, which is something I love very much. But I have never done the music of a Western, of course, because there are not so many chances writing the music of a Western. Erotic movie, yes, I have done an erotic thriller drama called Seguimi. I can't remember the title in English. It's an Italian movie, but there is also a title in English. And I have not wrote the music of an animation movie. But now probably I will do it because the director of Goffredo Mameli and the film about the Naples of the 18th century, Masaniello, Angelo Antonucci, is working on an animation feature film, and he wants me to write the music of the film.
Good for you,
so
man.
Fortunately, after 34 years, I will succeed to write an animation feature film.
Maybe that will be your Grammy award.
No, I don't think it's an Italian movie. So that's true that there are not so many animation movies around the world.
No, it's a category, right? There, animation, short movie.
Yeah, there is a category, yeah, right. But I don't know if there need to be American films in the category in the Oscar. I mean, for the Academy Award. I mean, I'm not sure I don't think there is a category for music for animation films. No, there is not. There's only one category for Oscar for best music for feature film, but not for animation. No.
Yeah, good question. I don't know, you will know more than that. Okay, Marco, so I have was very nice talking to you, and for sure we'll do a part two, because there are so many questions that
there are so many things to say about others. Also, I like to talk to about other composers, because since I know them, I know their music. I know very well the music of Jerry Goldsmith, who has been the first composer, music composer who I loved. So I know very well his music. But I know very well the music of John Barry, Georges Delerue, who was the most important French composer. And there are Italian young composer who doesn't even know who is Georges Delerue. Philippe Sarde also, who is an interesting composer, is still alive. I was in touch with him recently, with Philippe Sarde. Gabriel Yared, also and also other French composer, Alexandre, so that's what they call the one who is working now also in America, who had an Academy Award nomination. He's French. And Serge Franklin also is another good French composer, less well known. Francis Lay was a well known French composer with whom I worked. So I know very well the other composers, I mean the important composers who work in the film industry. Italians also, of course, Nino Rota, Ennio Morricone. You don't know, but you should listen to some of the music of Stelvio Cipriani, Franco Michalizzi, Guido Maurizio De Angelis, Franco Piersanti, Fiorenzo Carpi, who is now, he's not alive anymore, but he has been an important composer. For example, the Geppetto theme he wrote for Pinocchio by Luigi Comencini is a wonderful music theme. Wonderful music theme. Very tragic, almost a tragic music theme.
I'm quite sure we'll do a part 2 and a part 3 of this interview.
We can talk about whatever you want, thrillers, historical dramas.
I'm quite sure when we meet in Rome one day, we wanna have dinner and talk for probably about 5-6 hours. And,
well, if you
and
meet
drink wine and drink beer, whatever, you know.
if you come
I will.
in February for my award celebration, I invite you to lunch, of course, during the award celebration. If you come to also,
I will invite you.
No. We can stay together with Lisa also. She will be there. Lisa Bernardini.
Yeah, Lisa can be very good to me, so I'm very helpful for.
She's a good press agent.
Yeah. By the way, before I forget, do you know who Andrzej Horsinski was? He was Polish. Horsinski. Andrzej, who wrote the movie for like 30-40 years ago, Possession. I don't know if you.
He wrote the music of Possession.
Yeah.
Andrzej Horsinski.
Yeah, Andrzej Horsinski. He's for. I will send you the link. He's very, very good actually. And
I don't remember him.
Hold on. Let me see who the director of the movie. You will know the director.
Possession. I think it's Zulawski. Maybe no.
Need to look for. But I will.
No, Possession is an erotic movie, no? Erotic drama.
Yeah, let me see.
Is Zulawski or something?
Correct. Yeah, correct.
Zulawski. Yeah.
But it's with Isabella Gianni and Sam Neill. It's a movie from 1981, right? Yeah, about 40 years ago.
Yeah.
And the director is Zulawski.
Okay, so my memory is still working.
Yeah. Very good movie.
Sometimes I forget the name.
Complicated movie, complicated script. But as I say, I analyze, I divide that when I see a new movie, the same. I make a difference between a good movie and a good director. Independent of that, I look at the film score. For me, are two different things. Are completely different things. And as we talked before, I have a lot of soundtrack that I never seen the movie, and I like on its own, and vice versa. Many great movies that were the soundtrack, in my opinion. Although I'm not a musician, I don't know how to write music, read music. The music is bad. It's not appropriate. Are two different things in my opinion. So.
No, I mean you don't need to be a musician to appreciate the good music.
That's right. Yeah.
Because by listening to a lot of music, you build your own sensitivity, and you can judge the music, even if you cannot judge it technically, but you can judge if it's good or not.
Absolutely, yeah.
More or less, you can have an idea. And there are also examples of music, of wrong music sometimes, of music who didn't work well with a film.
Yeah.
And that was a mistake, not so much related to not only of the composer, but of the director, of the producers, who made a wrong choice. They should have not accepted to have that music in the film.
Yeah. Like a good example would be a simple example. You don't need to be a chef or a cook to enjoy Italian food.
No, of course, to taste, to know which food is good or not.
That's right. Hey, right. Marco, it was very nice talking to you.
My pleasure.
Good luck to you, and then I'm quite sure we'll stay in touch, and then we'll do a part 2 and a part 3, and it will be good to analyze different film, and then when you say, you can tell the difference between, Morricone or Goldsmith, in this, and this, and this. And
yeah,
it would be good to do an analysis of different.
For example, to my students, I ask them sometimes to watch a movie and to tell me how, for example, Basic Instinct with the music by Jerry Goldsmith, and to tell me how many times was repeated the main music theme. That's very useful to understand Jerry Goldsmith, how many times, 3, 4, 5 times he repeated the main music theme, how many times he repeated the secondary music theme. Maybe only 2 times. For example, for Giallo, I wrote a lot of music themes, maybe too many, because if you write too many music themes, it doesn't have the possibility to develop them, to repeat them. during the film. You can repeat them one time, twice, two times, but then you don't have more space. And in Giallo, there are a lot of music themes. The opposite of a film by, for example, like Halloween by John Carpenter, when there's only one music theme that is related to the killer, and every time you see the killer, you hear the music.
That's right. That's right.
The opposite I did for Giallo, you know. It's a different point of view. I mean, that's okay. We'll talk about everything.
Well, thank you very much. Have a great afternoon in there, man.
All right. Bye-bye.
We'll see each other very soon. Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.